Hey, Soul Survivors. I'm Cynthia Schiller here with Joel Chapman. We just got done talking. So he is a fighter who has done MMA, taekwondo, and also boxing, some at the professional level. And I'm going to have him introduce himself so we can get to know him. But he has a really interesting story. We're going to talk about some struggles, some mental illnesses. He was interested in understanding the other fighters on some of the things that make them tick or trigger them. So, welcome, Joel. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Joel Chapman. My fighting name is the Little Juggernaut. It's an oxymoron because a juggernaut is usually a big thing, but I'm a little person, you know. So, but I'm strong for my weight. I'm kind of vicious, so they gave me that name, Little Juggernaut. I grew up in the Kalamazoo area, and things were very rough growing up. So I had to learn how to defend myself. I had to learn how to fight. And I started to love the arts when I was a kid. I fell in love with the arts. I'm an artist and a martial artist. I love both of them, and I view them as the same. Actually, it's just
Oh,
you start differently and you end differently. Everything
okay.
in the middle. I mean, it's the
I,
same.
I know a lot of people will use art for therapy. Also, like you said, a lot of people get into fighting sometimes because of their upbringing. And what got you into fighting?
Well, pretty much when I was a kid, people they would try to. I mean, growing up in a ghetto, I grew up in a very urban area, and when you grow up like that, I mean, people they try you, they try to pick on you. So at first, it was just more of like a self defense. Then after a while, I mean, I grew up with a lot of other rough hood kids, so that's what we did for fun. We just fought, and then I started to like it. Then I really started to study the arts. I started to get deeper into it. And then it was just fun. And after a while, it was competition to see who was the toughest person. Period. So we
So,
would just meet up and fight.
instead of getting into gangs or things like that, did you do it for aggression reasons or did you just do it for fun?
Well, the gangs started to come as we got older. Like when I grew up in the ghetto, like we were young, kids were just rough and just mean.
Yeah,
You know how kids are, kids can be.
right.
Like they don't care. Kids are just they've only been on planet Earth 8 years or 10 years,
Right.
so they still learning how to act. So a lot of times, and I mean, I grew up with around like a lot of single parents or parents who didn't even pay attention to their kids, so their kids would just be wild and rough and crazy, and that's what I had to defend myself against. You
Now, did
know,
you have a hard time? How tall are you?
I'm 5'9" ish.
5'9". Okay. So the kids in your area, I know sometimes different areas have different heights. I'm 6'1", and when I go certain areas, there's like a lot of tall people, but
Yeah.
not where I am now. So were you on the smaller side of the kids?
Actually, ironically, I was on the bigger side until I was about 12. I was in like the 90th percentile in height. I haven't like grown since I was like 12 years old. I was like
Okay.
one of the tallest kids in the school in middle school, and then I just stopped growing. I did gymnastics, and I hear gymnastics stunts your growth plates.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, all my other brothers are 6 foot something except me. I'm the smallest guy.
Interesting. Yeah, it
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
It will.
So as a kid, I was one of the bigger kids, but I didn't really pick on people because I was one of the bigger kids. Smaller kids would try me, and then there you
You
go.
were dominant, but when the shift changed, is that when you started getting into the fighting?
No, I've been studying martial arts since I was about 4 or 5 years old. I remember the first fight I lived in Patwood. It's a really bad place in Kalamazoo, and it was this kid. I never forget my first fight. My first pro fight was at 5, as far as I'm concerned. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
now I know you said you suffered from some PTSD from some of the fights that you went through.
Yeah, but that comes on like later on in life. You know what I mean? Those are like more serious. I mean, when I'm 5 years old and I'm fighting at a creek,
Right.
that's one thing. But when you fight in front of thousands of people, that's a whole different ball game. But yeah, when I was a little kid, it was this kid. He attacked me. Like I didn't want to fight him. Then I remember I hit him so hard, I knocked one of his teeth out, and his tooth was stuck on my knuckle.
Mm.
Now I never forget that. And I remember taking it off, and we were so poor, so I put it under my pillow, and I got 10 cents. So that was my first pro fight when I was 5 years old. I got paid and I
So
went, got some
who
candy.
paid you? Your parents?
My mom, she thought I lost a tooth, but I didn't lose a tooth. I knocked somebody else's tooth out
Oh, you're kidding.
and took the
Okay,
money.
so
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 yeah,
you weren't taught not to do that or any repercussions on that fight. You actually got rewarded, and that
I didn't tell
probably,
my mom about the fight. She didn't even know.
how would your parents have reacted?
They would have freaked out. Oh, my mom would have freaked out. My family is extremely religious.
Okay.
My mom, it was my Sunday school teacher. So she never wanted me to play sports or anything. My dad wasn't around. He lived in Kansas City. So my mom wanted me to be like a choir boy and do all this churchy stuff. And I wanted to compete. So it's funny, my mom wouldn't even let me play football because she thought it was too rough. And then I ended up being a pro fighter growing up.
Oh, so how does your mom
So
feel about your choice?
she hates it. She
She hates
absolutely
it.
hates it. She's came
Yeah.
to a couple of my fights. She will not come to my fights. It freaks her out.
That's
She,
gotta be
she
hard as a mother. Like that would be really hard.
yeah.
And we talk about with the like the narcissist and things like that, like you want to encourage have a healthy relationship. Sometimes just a communication, like if she told you why she's not showing up as opposed to just not showing up, because then you might think that your mom didn't care about you when in actuality she did care about you, but she just couldn't take it.
Well, yeah, she was. I mean, she was busy, and it just wasn't her thing. I mean, that's just how. I hate to say it. I don't. Okay, I'm just trying to word this to make it not sound right. But a lot of times, I mean, I love my people. I'm black myself, but a lot of times, man, our families aren't the best families. They just don't stick with you. You know, like my parents never came to any of my athletic stuff. They just
Yeah.
didn't care. They just don't care.
Well,
So,
do
you
you
know,
think some of that has to do with the stressors of growing up in the urban area where money was tight, or this, your parents were probably going through some stress. Were they together when you grew up?
no, my mom actually met my real dad in the church. He wanted a little bit more of a serious relationship, I guess. She didn't want as a serious relationship. Got pregnant with me. I guess I was supposed to even be aborted. I guess.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad they didn't do that. And she got pregnant with me, and then she had me. She came back up to Michigan, had me, and then she moved back down until she tried to be with my dad for a few more years. It didn't work out, so then she moved back. And when she moved back, we were dirt poor. I mean, dirt poor. I remember being a little kid, like going over to my friend's house, like eating dinner, and like roaches and stuff would be crawling through our
Oh,
food, be knocking roaches out of our food. I remember going to bed hungry. Not have. I remember 35 years ago, 36 years ago. Sometimes I wouldn't even know where my next meal came from.
yeah.
So when you grow up like that, I mean, it breeds strong, rough, savage people. You know
Yeah,
what I
it
mean?
changes you. It changes you. Because you go into survival mode,
Yes,
that you have that food insecurity. There's a lot of that. Is it one in
but
eight? One in eight have food insecurity now or so. And that causes where it's hard to concentrate. Did you have a hard time in school?
um, kinda, cause I mean, nobody cared. My mom, she was at work all the time, so I mean, pretty much the streets raised me. That's why we're fighting all the time, you know, and like that's all I knew. So then I just took something that was bad and rough and that I was good at, and I tried to make it into a positive. I remember when I was 8 years old, I was just like, I want to grow up and be a martial artist. When I watched the movie Sidekick with Chuck Norris,
Yep.
now it's like from there I knew that that was going to be my path into something great. You know?
Now, let me ask you this. So, if you were, let's say, to go out to a bar and guys are kind of giving you a little shit, are you gonna fight them, or does it increase your aggression in regular settings, not in the ring, but in regular settings?
No, the funny thing is, fighters are some of the most nice people that you will ever meet because the thing is, we beat each other up so we get our aggression out. And
True.
the thing is, okay, Cynthia, would you feel good about beating up a handicapped person?
No.
You would feel
Ugh,
kind of bad, wouldn't you?
yeah, I see what you're saying, like on
Yeah,
par with each other. Yeah.
yeah. That's how I see the rest of the world. They aren't trained. So if anything, if somebody's getting in my face, like I would try to diffuse the situation. I don't want to fight them. You know what
Because
I
I know, what
mean?
is it, Mike Tyson? Didn't he get in a trouble where his fists were seen as lethal weapons?
Well, Mike Tyson is a savage. He's a complete savage. And yeah, I mean, I'll put it like this. If okay, yeah, we our hands and feet are registered. So, okay, say we get into a fight or something, and we just defending ourselves, we probably might not get in that much trouble. But if you almost beat somebody to death or you put them in a hospital, then it's going to be a big issue because our hands are like the equivalent of a baseball bat or something. So
Okay.
that's how the lawyers and the judge would pay. Okay, I got muted for a second. I'm
That's
sorry, I
okay. That's
muted it.
okay. So the
I
lawyers
think you
would
muted.
that I did? Let me, sorry guys, hang in there. I just have to ask him to unmute. There you go. You should,
Okay, can you hear me?
yes, yes. I can hear you.
I can't hear you. I think
Wait.
that you muted.
All right, so there we go. You should be able to hear me now. Can you hear me now? Yeah, technical issues, but we'd
Okay.
like to continue. Now, you had mentioned that you were interested in seeing how the other fighters, some of the things that they go through, that brought them into the fighting ring. Do you think that they're doing it for attention? Do you think they're doing it to get out aggression? Do you think it's just the love of the sport, or to exert dominance, or to be seen as a tough person?
It's interesting that you said that because all of the above. I've interviewed a lot of different, probably at least I've did at least 100 different interviews with fighters like over the years, and it's all different reasons. Some people, like for example, Michigan is a big wrestling state. I've run into MMA fighters who have not had one regular street fight their whole life.
Really?
Yeah, and they just do it for a sport. Then I'll talk to other people who grew up like I did, grew up rough, and that's all they know, and that's what they like to do. I'll talk to people who are complete batshit crazy narcissists, and they like to hurt people. You
Yeah.
know, it's
And
just
and
it just depends. You know, I mean, everybody has a different why, and that's what
very
interests
true.
me. And that's what
And
interests.
you brought up Narcissist. We're going to do another interview on the strip clubs, what we see in there, and that'll be our next interview. Um, because yeah, the exposure that you've seen about narcissism is phenomenal. Now, do you see narcissism or shadiness in the ring, or is it pretty on the up and up? Is there any
Well,
rigged competitions?
no, I've never read anything that's rigged, but you do see a lot of fighters are big narcissists. I mean, and they fighting is a selfish sport. You know, I'll put it like this: when you're in a training camp,
Hmm.
everything has to be about you. It has to be, because if you have any distractions when you walk into that cage, those people aren't playing. They
Right.
are not playing. Like, they are trained, and like their only purpose is to hurt you. When you go in the ring, either you're gonna walk out hurt or they're gonna walk out hurt. And you know what? Nobody can save you. Your mom can't save you. Your dad can't save you. The police can't save you. The police will be sitting there watching the fights.
This is
Nobody can
what
save you.
This is what's interesting to me, though, is to put yourself in that position is almost like recreating your childhood. Like, I have to fight. I have to be my sole survivor. You go into that protection mode, and it's do you think it's a coping mechanism that you entered into that?
You know, for a while it kind of was, but now, for example, I don't relate violence a lot of the times when me fighting somebody with violence. To me, it's more like a dangerous game of chess. It's
Okay.
you have
You
to
and I are
outfight
different.
your opponent. Yeah, yeah. Well, think about it. I mean, for example, there are times where I might be in a cage and somebody might kick me in my leg a whole bunch of times,
Right.
and say they kick me in my right leg a whole bunch of times. I still have a killer in front of me that wants to hurt me, and I have to problem solve how to make it through that fight the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So you have to. It's problem solving with dire consequences. So you have to figure out how to survive when you're losing limbs and still fight.
Now, is it the adrenaline rush that, because sometimes we get addicted to adrenaline rushes? And
Yes.
and also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but how do you feel if you can't fight?
What do you mean if I can't fight? Like, what do you mean?
Like when COVID happened, you couldn't get in the ring, or things like
Oh,
that when there's downtime.
well, training is a good outlet, and most fighters I know are very active. We're very active, and if we're not fighting, we're training. So
Okay.
training is pretty much just as good as fighting. And then, I hate to say it, not trying to get all freaky or anything, but a lot of fighters are very sexual people.
Okay.
So we're physical people. So, that goes. So that's another good outlet as well. Sometimes, just being
That's true.
honest.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That is true. So can I ask you, when
Well,
you are sexual, when you have that adrenaline need, or craving, um, how does that reflect in your relationships? Do you wait till a full-fledged relationship, or is it who's available at the time?
it just depends. There have been times where, like I've had full blown relationships plenty of times in my life. Then there are other times where you do more of like a friend with benefits thing.
Okay.
That is that happens more than often than not. Relationships are cool too. It just depends on your and what that person wants or what that person allows.
Okay.
I mean, it
It
just
can be done
depends.
in a healthy way, as long as you guys are on the up and up. The thing is, though, is I bet a lot of women are attracted to you, or whoever you date is they're attracted to you because part of it's a status. Do you ever feel that the people you date are after your status?
Yeah, when I was younger, it was more like that. Or actually, for example, say I'm not doing really much with my life. I'm down. I'm not in the spotlight. I don't really have as many girls hit me up. But as soon as I book a fight, or even I'll put it like this: the day I do fight, after the
Mhm.
fight, I don't even check my phone until the next day. It's usually hundreds of people messaging me, whether it's friends, family, and girls trying to sleep with me that night. Yeah, so you have to learn how to balance all of that. And that when I was younger, I made some crazy mistakes because of that.
Okay.
Like, yeah, yeah. Actually, the reason, and I have a UFC shirt on. A lot of my friends made it to the UFC. I didn't make it because of a bad relationship. That was my fault.
How did that affect you?
Okay. This is a horrible story, but I just tell it. The last time I cheated on somebody, and this was like 2010. I've never cheated on anybody since.
Okay.
And I take full responsibility for everything that happened. Well, I had a girl who I liked a lot, and we dated for like a while. We dated for like a year and something,
Okay.
and everything was good. I was ranked number one in the state in Michigan for MMA at that time. Three, I had 5 belts in 3 different weight classes, so I was fighting everybody. Like, I
Wow.
mean, I was fighting everybody, and I remember very specifically, I was in the Detroit area, and there was posters of me everywhere. I was fighting for Genesis. And when you have all I was, a 25, 26-year-old kid, like you have all these girls after
Right.
you and you had a serious girlfriend. My girlfriend, she was an average looking girl, but it
Right.
didn't matter. I liked her. You know what I mean? Well, I remember seeing myself on a poster and it was just so surreal. And this ring girl, it was a beautiful ring girl. She was mixed with like Italian, Greek, gorgeous girl, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen before in my life. She starts showing interest in me, and I didn't think it was anything like that. I just thought we were just friends.
Right.
Well, I wasn't a pro at that time yet. I was still a high level amateur, and she invited me to an event at her cousin was a pro fighter.
Mm.
So she paid for my ticket and she like I mean she bought me drinks and stuff. We go there and we I went to her house and my girlfriend knew and we left with like her family, like everybody met at her house. So then we go to the fights and this girl's super nice to me, buying me drinks. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then
Right.
after that, like I rode with her. She was like, don't drive. And then I rode back to her house. And I was just like, I thought like everybody was gonna come back over. And
Hmm.
I was like, where's everybody at? And she was like, I'm the party. And I'm like,
Oh.
oh. So I have some drinks at me and I have this gorgeous girl in front of me. And
Yeah.
like
And that's the thing with drinking is sometimes we make different choices. Do you think you would have made the same choice if you weren't drinking?
no,
Yeah, and that's the
no,
thing.
I
Like
would not.
a lot of people after narcissistic abuse, they might turn to drugs or alcohol. And we have to be careful that we don't let that guide us down a path that we wish we didn't go down. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
Do you think she purposely manipulated you with kind of
oh, of
pushing?
course,
Yeah.
of course. Oh yeah. Wait till you hear how the story ends. Okay.
Okay.
We start getting down and then like oh man, that girl, I was into that girl. She was gorgeous. I
Right.
mean, so every once in a while I would go to Detroit and I'll hook up with her. And then I started getting guilty. Cause like I mean, my girlfriend, she was just a nice girl, and I remember I had a fight at the Palace Auburn Hills. It's one of the
Yeah.
biggest arenas that you can fight at. And my girlfriend, I hadn't seen that girl in a few months. Oh yeah. So the last time I had got was intimate with that girl, she was like, "I love you," and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh God, here we go.
How quickly did she say that?
It was probably, I would say, a few months in.
Okay. Okay. So that's at least not like the first night.
No, no, no. It was definitely not the first night, but I mean, I'll put it on her. You know what I mean? Not trying to, it was
Right.
it was a good time. So she threw the "I love you," and I'm like, oh goodness. And I was just like, it freaked me out. I was like, I got a girlfriend. Like, what's up? And she just started getting real clingy and real, and I just kind of had to cut it off.
Now,
So
did
then
you go ahead? I'm sorry.
so like I didn't tell her I loved her back or anything. And then my girlfriend was helping me train for it was a belt defense I had at the Palace. And I get to the Palace Auburn Hills, and I'm with my girlfriend, and that girl comes up to like me and my girlfriend. I'm like, oh my God, I was so nervous. And then she had a back, she knew a lot of the other fighters because she was a ring girl. So she got a backstage pass and was like following me backstage and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. I remember it was so hard to even focus on that fight.
Oh, I
So
bet.
so then I win, and I had the microphone, and I was like, I would like to thank my girlfriend. I'm not gonna say her name. Blah 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 blah. And I gave my girlfriend because she helped me train for that fight. So
Right.
like I wanted to give credit where credit is due. And then I remember a few days later, I was talking to the promoter, getting ready to set up my next fight. When I get a phone call and I see my girlfriend's calling, and she was just like, "You want to tell me about your other girlfriend?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she was just like, I can say her. Well, I'm not gonna say her
No, don't
name.
say her name.
And she blasted her name, and I was just like, and I'm like, first of all, I was like, that's not my girlfriend. But I was like, okay, I was like, I got caught. I cheated. Like
So
I told her I
you
was,
were on the up and up with her and told her?
yeah. Like I mean, I was
Okay.
caught
Right.
because I mean,
And that's what's different. Like narcissists will deny it till the end. They'll be no, even when you have the proof, they 90% of the time.
really,
Well, oh yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I was caught. That's how I see it, and I'm like, because that girl, she gave her times, dates, everything. She snitched on me on a different level. She like that girl because she got mad and she got jealous, and then she called me and she was just like, "You better choose between me or her." And my girlfriend was like, "You better choose." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" So it took me a second. It's just like, do I go to my mediocre girlfriend or do I date this beautiful, gorgeous ring girl? So I chose my girlfriend.
Yeah, and that's you saw the person as opposed to the beauty because a lot of times, after we break up with the narcissist, we're like, am I not pretty enough? Because a lot of
Yeah.
times they'll pick somebody who's younger. And that's why I'm telling people it's just a different person. It doesn't matter if you're prettier. And even I gave this example of my best friend's husband thought I was disgusting because I'm too thin and she's overweight with rolls, so it's
Oh,
eyes and beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So don't compare yourself to other people, but yeah, we gotta realize the things that we do in life because I know you said it was due to alcohol, but you continued seeing her, and sometimes
yeah.
temptation is
Well, I
really
mean,
hard.
well, the thing is, after the first deed is done, after the deed is done, it's already like I hadn't cheated on her to that point, and then and like after that, it was done. I'd already cheated, so
Right.
you know
And
what I mean. So
and
I was
it's
just like,
yeah,
whatever.
people will try to excuse it that way,
Uh,
but I'll tell you what, you come to me and say you did it one time, I'd be pissed, but it's like, wait, you did this for the last how many months? Like
yeah,
that affects people more.
it
Um,
does. Well, and the thing is, my girlfriend at the time, she didn't like. I told her the truth about everything, and then she didn't believe me. She was like, "That girl said you loved her." I was like, "I
oh,
didn't say that." And it was like little things that girl lied about to I don't. It was a
and
bad situation. Well, so fast forward real quick. Almost done with the story. So like we were good for a while. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And then I started noticing like I was just started trying to like hang out with her more and stuff like that. And then she kind of started backing off a little bit more. And I remember I wanted to go to the beach with her, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to go to the beach. I'm too busy." And then I seen her check in with this guy, this,
Oh,
and I'm like, "Oh, you don't got time to go to the beach with me, but you can go to the beach with this other dude." And then she's like, "I think we need to take a break." And I'm like, "Okay." So then we were taking a break, and we were like, it was real rough. I started getting really depressed. Well, and I was actually sponsored by a strip club, Angels, at that point, at that time. So like I wasn't really going to the club as much as I was trying to focus more on me and my girlfriend's relationship and everything. And I wasn't doing anything with any of the dancers or anything. It was just that's what I was sponsored by.
right.
It was a money thing. Well, then like some time had went by, and things started getting real bad between me and her. And then her cousin, because I was like teaching her martial art, her cousin to her martial arts, or martial arts to her cousin, and then her cousin was just like, she just told me, she was just like, "Joel," she's like, "you a nice dude, and I got to tell you what's going on." She was like, she's been dating this dude for months.
And how did you feel when you heard that?
It felt like somebody literally stabbed me in my chest. Like
Yeah.
I felt physical pain in my chest.
Yeah.
It felt like somebody punched me. And then I call her and I'm like, "Why didn't you?" And then like I had her come over and I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Blah blah blah. And she was just like, she tried to make it sound like I'm some violent person. I was gonna beat her or something. I never hit that
Oh,
girl. And then she was
right.
just like, she was like, "Well, I was scared you were gonna hit me." I'm like, "Really, really? Like I've never hit you, nothing like that. Like why would you?
That response is probably something from her childhood that made her say that about you. If she's
Really?"
been, yeah, aggressive men, or whether she witnessed a family member or just knowing what's in the hood. Maybe she saw something on TV, or she grew up in the hood, knowing experiences of made up name. Melissa's boyfriend beat the crap out of her when she said that situation. So
Uh,
it's not even something that necessarily even happened or happened to them, but it's something that they heard that scares them.
that makes sense. Well, and then I talked to her, so I'm like, okay, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Like I was just like, I gave you another chance, and she was like, I think I want to go with that guy. And
Yeah.
then she told me it was a white chick, and then she told me she was just like, I don't think I want to have black babies. Like
Okay.
I've been dating you for almost 2.5 years. Why are you just now gonna tell me that?
Yeah.
So after that, I was super depressed, and I just partied, and I drink every day for like probably about 5 months.
Yeah.
Like I
And
was really hurt, and yeah, and then that's when I really started getting deeper into the strip club industry, and that's when I ended up dating a stripper after that. Like right after that, that was my
okay.
next relationship. Yeah, so
And this is what's interesting. I'm not sure how much more time we have left. We'll go to the end, but oh, we're running out of time. I knew it. Uh, we're hold on. It's so funny. I just said that. So we're gonna sum this up. Um, it's interesting how the seed was planted, the trust was broken, and over time, even though you guys retried, that she did the same thing back to you. And you were able to feel it, and you started drinking. Like we try to overcompensate to get rid of the pain, and if we do it in a healthy way, we come out in a healthy way. But you became broken in that instance. Real quick, do you think, because it's going to shut us off, do you think that the person that you hooked up with was more broken than what you were used to?
yeah, she was. And then after that, I noticed a girl. She was like suicidal. She was all over the place. That girl was more of a head case than I realized. But the thing is, at that point, I mean, in my 20s, I wasn't looking at what was going on in her head. I was looking at her body. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Yeah.
younger, and I'm older now. But when you're younger, it's just sex, good looks. It's you in your sexual prime when you're a young man. And you think
Right.
differently with different heads. And like now, that wouldn't even be a situation. But
Okay. Yeah,
back then, it
there
was.
are learning experiences that we go through. Also, our hormones adjusting, or even just our confidence. Like, just because this person's in front of me doesn't mean I can't find somebody else where I can be a little more picky. And yeah, we don't think long term, all those kind of things. But Joel, I really enjoyed our conversation. I'd love to hear more about that story, the narcissist that you encountered in the strip clubs. I bet a lot of them are borderline, or
Yeah.
also bipolar. So we'll get into that, and we're gonna plug you and get some information on how to contact you. Are you still fighting currently?
Yeah, actually, my arm is jacked up right now. I just fought for an hour straight a couple days ago,
Ooh.
and this dude almost ripped my arm off. He put me in this called a Kimura. He was bending my arm back, so my
Ooh.
arm is still a little unlike this right now. But yeah, I'm probably gonna take a taekwondo tournament. I was thinking about taking a bare knuckle fight soon, or probably another pro MMA fight very soon. So
Very
yes,
cool. All right. Well, we wish the best of luck to you. Stay safe.
thanks. You too. You too. I
I'm a
mean,
teacher. I'm in the battle zone too. I just got hurt on Monday or Friday, yesterday. I
how'd you
got
get hurt?
whacked. Kids pulling, swinging her backpack, bam, straight into my knee with a metal lunchbox or thermos, just dead on into my kneecap. Yeah.
Ooh, that's
So
good.
yeah, I was in a lot. It's still hard to bend, and I don't know if I cracked it. I break easy, so we'll see. I do. I've had, oh my gosh, over 200 casts in my life. Yeah, like so broke collarbone, broke my tailbone 3 times, and my legs and my arms, and I fell off my crutches. So I broke my arm, so I had a broken leg and an arm, so I had to be in a wheelchair.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I got 2 scars from swimming. I did a flip turn, chipped my tooth, and I also scraped my shoulder. Just stupid stuff. So
That's
I'm
crazy.
surviving. I'm a survivor. So Joel, we will talk. I enjoyed this, and thank you so much. I'll see you. We'll talk. We'll chat and then
Okay,
figure out the
thank
next
you.
one. Thank you.
Okay,
All
sounds good. Thank you. All
right.
right, bye bye.
Bye.